So we have a Wiggles accordion. So this is a super cool little instrument. And I know I've gotten quite a few different requests for a Wiggles accordion. I've never came across one, but luckily enough, this one was actually sent to me. So we're going to be doing this today. And it is a super cool looking instrument. Really excited about it. We even have two entry points here. So these are two separate cases that are connected through this. So we actually have two options to actually try to find the speed control here. And as opposed to doing eeny, meeny, miny, mo, I'm just going to go ahead and start on this one. No particular reason. We're just going to start here. We're going to open this up. If we get the wrong one, then we'll just open the other one up. Alright, so it looks like we may have gotten lucky here and actually pulled out the right board. I'm not sure if this is just a button set up over here and an on-off switch with a battery pack, but looks like we got lucky and we got the one that at least has a lot of components in it to kind of play around with. So we're going to go ahead, we pulled this out, and looks like we've got quite a few different things here. Alright, so we're going to pop this off. Alright. So speed control is right around here somewhere. It was a little bit hard, but we actually were able to isolate the resistor, and it's this one right here, this blue one. So it is kind of difficult when you have three resistors right in a row, and then you have this other one that's coming out here going here. So we've got quite a few different resistors in this area. How I usually deal with something like this is I take another resistor that's kind of a higher resistance resistor, and then I go ahead and see which one gives me that kind of effect. And remember, when you're doing this, it's essentially all we're doing to get the higher pitch stuff is we're just short circuiting the actual resistor that's controlling the speed on it. So one resistor is going to give you that type of effect, and we're just trying to short circuit that specific resistor.
Words and ideas can change the world. I'll save it for you. We don't read and write poetry because it's cute. We read and write poetry because we are members of the human race, and the human race is filled with passion, romance, love. These are what we stay alive for. Life exists in identity. A powerful play goes on in you. Powerful play goes on. You may contribute universe.
I fed this through, and as you see, it kind of burned the board. So this doesn't happen very often. Let me see if I can get the light a bit better. Not too much. We're dealing some weird lighting here, but you can see it burned the board. This actually happens with kind of cheaper boards, and a lot of times once you burn a board like that, the board isn't going to function exactly correctly. As you see, this one is. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually just going to go over something that I like to do on these kind of cheaper boards to make things a little bit better. And then that is just adding a little wire right here. So we've seen that this connects up here. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this wire, and then we're very simply just going to solder this wire onto the point that this is supposed to be connecting to. We're going to connect it right to that wire and just run it through. So there you go. And then I'm going to take my wire cutters. I'm going to snip this right there. Just going to press that down. Now I'll add a little bit of hot glue. So that does not come off. So that is going to be super sturdy right there. That's going to not fall off. And we don't have to worry about the board being burned.
romance, love. These are what we stay alive for. And you are here. Life exists in identity. The powerful play goes on and you contribute first. Powerful play goes on and you may contribute at first.
We went to go ahead and put this in, and as you see, what we're actually running into is these bolts are currently in the way. So we're going to go ahead and try to take those out, and then we're going to put the board in and then do this in reverse. If this doesn't work, the good part is we can always actually just add something else inside of the touch points. So we're not restricted to just these bolts. We can actually get smaller things, we can get thumbtacks, we can get all kinds of different stuff. So we're not restricted here, so this isn't too big of a problem. We're just going to take this out, place the board, and see what we can do. We have the board in now, so this is all snug and tight, and as you can see, these bolts are probably not going to work for this. So realistically, we should have measured this out before we did it, but since these are touch points, we do have quite a bit of options here. So we're going to go ahead and find something else that we can actually fit inside here and still latch the touch points in.
Words and ideas can change the world. A secret for you. We don't read and write poetry because it's cute.
It was close, but we found a solution. And pretty nice looking. So let's go ahead and put it back together.
Romance, love. These are what we stay alive for. Life exists in identity. The powerful play goes on in you. Powerful play goes on. You may contribute first.
So here in Ohio, we've been getting around freezing temperature. So it's been absolutely insane. So it is definitely officially into the year. And as you've seen, I have all of this stuff cleared out. Still quite a bit of mess. We actually just got done doing it. But I cleared all of this stuff out, and this mint is growing back again. So I thought it was going dormant because a lot of it was dying off. But sure enough, it's actually coming back again. I have no complaints. We've got some peppers there, some more bell peppers over there that I don't know if they're going dormant. The banana pepper seems to be going strong. This is another banana pepper plant. This is really the only one that I decided I'm probably not going to keep over winter time. Got some aster and goldenrod drying here. I did some decorations I thought were pretty cool. Little maple tree. I'm also keeping my larger tomatoes out here as well as the box full of wild stuff. And everything has come inside. So this is actually my recording room as well. Yeah, I record on the floor. Very fancy. But this is the current, I guess you would say, growing room. So I have all of the things right here. This Mad Hatter plant right here was a monster. I had to cut him down quite a bit. I had never topped him or anything, so he was growing absolutely insane. Then we have the habanero plant, ghost peppers, Trinidad's. Now 2 weeks later, this is actually looking really good. So if you look right here, so this plant is now killing it. I actually harvested 2 peppers off of it earlier for some cheese fries, and they were amazing. But that is the Taj Mahal. You see there's even more back there because this plant grew out and it's growing like it's 2 different plants. But very, very, very good pepper. It's not a super hot, but it is pretty hot. It has a good heat to it. So we have all of that set up. And then there are aphids still. Sprayed them down before, all this. And I think the freeze actually helped take them out a bit as well. But just in case, I have this barrier right here. So these are crosses. See if you can see that. So these are actually some really, really cool crosses. And I also have some purple gum yellows in there as well. So pretty rare peppers. And obviously not something that I can pull off really easy. So I'm regrowing those, and I actually have mint here as a deterrent. Brought them in for the season, so it's not going dormant. And I have all of this, and I have the mint for deterrent. So hopefully the aphids do not climb that barrier. And then I've got these small tomato plants that are here. I'm just kind of letting grow out. They're Green Doctors, Brad's Atomic, and a couple other ones. But I thought it'd be kind of fun to have some tomatoes for the season. For the winter season, that is. But yeah, that is the growing room for this winter. Right now it is absolutely packed. The chocolate douglas here cracked me up because I didn't realize, since this thing was in a box, I don't know, it was just sitting so far away from all the other plants. I did not realize how large these things had gotten. I mean, they're just monsters for plants. Like, it's a really large pepper plant. At least for how old it is. It's I started around like mid-season. But really good stuff. So pretty excited about that. Hey, good morning everyone. I wanted to give you a quick run through of some of my pepper plants, some of the stuff that I grow and kind of do as a hobby. And you will see this is a pretty big hobby of mine. And it's not only pepper plants. Actually, this entire shelf right here is tomato plants. Even these guys, which I'm planning on growing throughout the winter indoors. Because obviously they're not staying out here in Ohio, so I have some grow lights and stuff that I bring them inside. Then we have some pepper plants here, and you'll see this guy kind of looks funky. Had some run-in with aphids earlier in the year, and I had to spray them down with Dawn dish soap, and some of them didn't take it that well. So some of the foliage got messed up, and you'll see my habanero plant over here. He got hit really hard, but surprisingly he's still producing fruit and he's still going strong. We're regrowing leaves, so we're good. And another one that got hit pretty hard is these 7-pots and Trinidad Scorpion here. So it is pretty impressive. This 7-pot is still flowering, but the reason these guys got hit is because I have them tied here because we often get raccoons on our porch. I didn't want them knocking that 5-gallon bucket over. So those guys didn't get removed, so they didn't escape the sun, so a lot of the foliage got damaged. This is a mint. I am very big into mint. I absolutely love mint. I eat it raw. And we also cook it for later on throughout the year. And I'll show you all of that. I do the same thing with peppers and make it into a pepper type powder. So you can use it throughout the year and it's very good. I actually drink pepper in water and put it on just about everything. We have a delicious restaurant here called Skyline, and peppers are amazing in that. So here is a very typical pepper you're very familiar with. If you're not familiar with this, this is a bell pepper. You can usually find those pretty much any store, so I'd be surprised if you weren't. Then we have a banana pepper here. Now I usually go through and pull these every weekend. Last weekend I actually skipped it, specifically for this video. But then we have a ghost pepper here. This is a ghost pepper plant. I actually have 6 of these, so I keep all my ghost peppers on the ground. Then we have another pepper here called Mad Hatter. So this is not a super hot. This is actually a very, very calm pepper. It's probably about bell pepper in heat. I don't really taste any heat when I eat them, but they are a nice pepper. Then we have yellow Trinidad Scorpion, and as you see, I crossed this quite a few times. So I have some bags over so they don't get cross-pollinated with something else. So I know the cross-pollination took, but this is actually a Reaper crossed with a yellow Trinidad Scorpion that I'm working on there. Then up here, we have one of my favorite peppers. This is a Scotch bonnet. So I think these peppers are absolutely delicious. We have some red habaneros. And it's actually a lot of stuff on that shelf there, but I would say a majority of that stuff is Scotch bonnet. As you see, I even have some Scotch bonnet over here. Then we have this plant. So this plant's very beautiful. I just wanted to show you this one. These grow very different in color. So it's actually called a black pearl, and black pearls are very beautiful plants. This is actually a larger one over here. So you see just beautiful dark purple. So those end up as very small peppers with a lot of seeds inside of them. But this is the first year I'm growing those, so I am very excited to actually try those. This is another one. They seem very fast growing, so I'm actually very excited to actually eat one of those and kind of see if I like them or not. But I'm going to go ahead and show you how I dry out these peppers and how do I powderize them. Okay, so here is the harvest. So we have a bunch of scorpions, we have ghost peppers, Scotch bonnets all right here. We have our snack peppers over here. These are habaneros. And the habaneros in the super hots I cook down. The snack peppers, literally just for eating. And what I do is I stick them inside of here. So 200 to 250 degrees. We're going to stick it in the oven. And do not overdo that. Because if you overdo time-wise, then you're going to run the flavor. And if you overdo it heat-wise, then you're going to have a really bad time. It's an irritant to the lungs. So it's a really bad deal. But this is going to take about 7 hours. So I actually do in intervals. So as you see, this is actually not crunchy yet. Well, we are getting pretty close there. So you do want to do it in intervals, I would think, unless you have 7 hours to just sit around and cook peppers. But you can do that, and what it ends up is the result is this very fine powder once we feed it through a coffee grinder. And you do want to make sure your coffee grinder doesn't spit air out a lot. And if it does, you may want to do it outside. So I actually went through that when I first started doing this. Is my coffee grinder was spitting air out everywhere into the apartment, and it was just awful. Then you can do this with a lot of different plants. So I actually do this with parsley as well. So you see this is parsley, and you get a really good amount. So parsley, mint mix. So it's a bunch of different mint. I do the stems and everything, but I think it has really good flavor. So I do that with mint. I do it with parsley. I also do it with peppers. And it's a really great way to go ahead and just use your stuff year round. Like this pepper has really good flavor to it, and it's not going to go bad because it doesn't actually have moisture in it. So that's a fun and neat way to kind of save your stuff throughout the year, and I hope it helps somebody.